Oh, I guess we're live. Oh, forgot to add the countdown. In the words of my man Craig, that's a rookie move. well, that's good to know. We'll talk about the draft a little bit later. So, a lot of rookies we're going to be talking about. So, what's up, guys? Welcome to the fourth quarter. Once again, I was talking. This is a great time in sports, guys. This is a great time in sports. Um, Not only the NFL, which I mean, just the draft and some offseason moves have been phenomenal. I am going to add another question in there. Uh, and the NBA playoffs. The NBA playoffs have the Heat versus the Knicks, which is the old school rivalry. You got Philadelphia and Boston. You got the Lakers and Golden State, two greats, LeBron and Steph. And then you got the Phoenix Suns and Denver Nuggets. Loved it. Always like to see KD in the playoffs. Hopefully they can bounce back. But Craig, we about to get into it, man. Second round of playoffs are here. They're live. They're lit. I love it. I love it. You know what I'm saying? Like I've been watching so much NBA basketball. It's just like, I'll be cooking and it just plays in the background. I just need it playing. You know what I'm saying? So I love it and I can't wait. So Craig, let me ask you this. NBA East, Eastern Conference, semifinal playoffs. Miami Heat versus New York Knicks. Who's winning the series and why?
Before the series started, I picked the Knicks.
Uh-huh. Sticking with them?
I'm still sticking with them.
All right.
I know they struggle obviously without Butler, and they had to pull it out late. But I'm just going off of I think they have more. I don't know what's going to happen with Jimmy Butler. I don't know if he's coming back. I think that the injury is going to be a big significant injury. They already lost Tyler Hero, so it's pretty much Kyle Lowry and Bam Adebayo, and then some other pieces around them that can, that can score or whatever they need to score. But I just like Brunson. I like Randall, Barrett, and just like that three-headed, I guess, monster or whatever you want to call it. And then you have Hart in there as well, and so they have. I like their unit a little bit better, especially if Jimmy Butler's not going to play. Now I don't know what his status is. I think they don't play again until Saturday. I think
it's Saturday.
That's a lot of time off, so he can heal and go back home. They did what they needed to do on the road, which is a split. So now they go back home and they can at least go. I mean, they have a chance to go up 3-1. But I'm still sticking with the Knicks. I think it should be a physical series, but I like Brunson right now and the way he's playing. And like I said, if Jimmy Butler can't come back, I don't know what the Heat are going to do, because I don't expect Kyle Lowry to come up with 30 points like he did, I think, in game one. So I'm just not a believer. I never liked Kyle Lowry anyway, so that's never no secret.
We know that.
Yeah, I can't stand him. But yeah, I got the Knicks in this one, man. I think if they do go to a game 7, it's back in the Garden. The Garden is rocking. The crowd is crazy. So
it's crazy, man.
Their crowd sucks. It's been terrible forever, basically. So they don't really have a home court to me. Not like they used to have, maybe probably back when LeBron and them was there, but even still then it wasn't that great.
Yeah. LeBron called him out a couple times. But you know what? I gotta go to Heat, man. I'm on the Heat train. I think the Heat the Heat are gonna win. I think that Jimmy Butler's getting rest on an ankle. It's very hard to win in Miami. Listen, you got to be focused when you're playing in the NBA, because when you go to certain cities, players hang out. It's just a fact. Players go to LA, they're hanging out. Players go to New York, they're hanging out. Players go to Miami, they're hanging out. So if they have good leadership, they'll be able to focus. But I don't know, man. They there was no Jimmy, and it was up to the last minute. I gotta give it to Jimmy buckets, man. Playoff Jimmy is here. Okay, and once again, he's gonna go to the Eastern Conference Finals again, just like he did a couple years ago or last year. Should maybe last year. I just think so, man. All right, Craig, Philadelphia 76 and the Boston Celtics.
I'm still sticking with Boston.
Yeah.
I don't see any reason to switch away from Boston because they lost the first game.
Yeah.
So it was a gut check. It's unfortunate, and they shouldn't have lost again because there was no Embiid, and Embiid's probably not going to play in game 2, which is it's unfortunate because I want.
He said he might. He said it. He was like, "I'm going to."
But even if he does play, he's not going to be 100%. So, but I mean, and who knows? Maybe that will hurt the offense compared because they play in like an hour, less than an hour. So. Sometimes if you're like, I don't think he needs to play because they already did what they needed to do, which is get a or at least get one road win. So if they lose tonight, it's still 1-1, and they all you want to do as a road team is to get a split at least. And they already did that. So there's really no reason for him to play tonight, especially if he's not 100% because he could just hurt the team even worse. Versus when you have James Harden running the show or his ability to go out there and score. He can just, it's a different offense. It's how they do everything is different. But I'm still sticking with Boston. I think that team that went to the finals last year is still hungry to get to the finals again this year. I think their team improved with some of the additions that they got. Williams is still, he's still there. Obviously they have Smart, who was the defensive player of the year last year. Tatum and Brown are obviously still there. Brogdon, I like Brogdon as for his defense. So I'm not moving away from the Celtics right now. I think that game 1 was definitely a reality check for them, and I think they're going to come back in game 2 and win it, whether Embiid's there or not. And I think eventually they're going to take the series.
Yeah, now I do agree with you on that one. Even I like Philadelphia, but this is the whole thing. Like, first of all, shout out to James Harden dropping 45. Phenomenal. Philadelphia hasn't lost a playoff game, but I don't expect Boston. Jaylen Brown didn't take no shots in the second half. Tatum didn't take no shots in the fourth quarter. I do not see that happening again. And I love the 76ers, but for them to beat Boston, they're going to need Joel Embiid 100%. At least 80. At least 80%. But I don't see it, man. I don't. Now, if 76ers win tonight, I won't see Boston coming back from 0-2.
I'm not even going to count them out at the 0-2.
Maybe. Teams have been coming back, but I don't know. Boston plays weird to me sometimes, man. It's kind of like another team we're about to get to, but I'm still picking Boston, guys. I'm still picking Boston. They should be able to turn it around. I'm not hitting the panic button. I think they'll win and close it out. All right. This is going to be a quick one, and I love this young man because he came from the same. He was raised right down the street from me. We're going to talk about the Phoenix Suns and Denver Nuggets. The whole thing about the Denver Nuggets, where number one, they got rest because they got Minnesota out of there. Well, so the Phoenix Suns. But the thing is, the playoffs are usually, sometimes they're one game every day. Game, rest, right? And I knew this was going to happen, but like running KD and Booker 40-plus minutes against the Clippers without Paul George and Kawhi, I knew this was going to hurt them because it's, they can't be playing that much minutes. Now Chris Paul's out with a groin. Of course he is. I love Chris Paul. He's one of my favorite point guards, but nobody can beat Father Time. Not even LeBron. LeBron's a little different. We're gonna get to that next. But like, just think about this. Chris Paul has had injuries almost every year in the playoffs or the finals, and this year he's out with a groin because he played 40 plus minutes because they don't have a good rotation, and then they only got 4 points. Their bench is horrible. You gotta have a bench in the playoffs. You gotta have at least an 8-man rotation. And I think the Nuggets have it. And unfortunately, I don't think they're going to sweep them. I don't think they're going to sweep them. But it's unfortunate for the Suns. Now, hopefully, the Suns come back next year, reload with some free agents that want to come and play. And then it'll be very interesting next year. It'll be interesting because then this is just a prediction. I think Kyrie stays in Dallas. They put some talent around him and Luka. The Lakers gonna keep their squad. You're gonna have Phoenix. It's gonna be the Wild Wild West, baby, next year. And Golden State's probably gonna reload again, or they're gonna be back. So the West is gonna be off the chain next year, and hopefully the Clippers are healthy. I think Westbrook goes to a team like Miami, which he would fit perfectly with that culture. And that would give Jimmy, because you got to think if Miami had Russ, they would have won last night. I mean, they would have beat the Knicks with Russ. But I'm just saying. So that's all. I think the Nuggets are going to win the series. What about you, Craig? Phoenix Suns versus Denver Nuggets.
I'm sticking with the Suns. I'm not switching to the Nuggets. I don't believe in the Nuggets. I never have. They've given me no reason to still believe in them. I do respect them. I think they're a solid team. They had a really good regular season or whatever, best record in the West. But I mean, they gotta prove. I don't know. They just haven't proved it to me, and I know they deserve a little bit more respect, and they should be taken seriously. But I can't take the Nuggets seriously.
Okay. I understand that.
They might. It's probably just like to me, it's just like a history thing or whatever it is. Like they've never done anything for me to feel like, okay, the Nuggets are going to be. They've had the best record in the West before, and they've done nothing. I mean, so excuse me. I think the Suns, unfortunately, I agree with you that they did run Kevin Durant and Chris Paul and Devin Booker a lot in that first series against the Clippers, and I mean, they really had to because they were probably. Who knows, man? I think they probably would have. This series would have went a lot longer. I don't know if they would have lost. I'm still sticking with I'm still picking the Suns, but that was dicey, man. The way that they played without Kawhi and how the Clippers, I give them credit. But they're well coached. Ty Lue's a great coach. Russell Westbrook stepped up, something I didn't see happening, and he played efficiently, especially after the first game. He was horrible in the first game.
Yeah.
But he stepped up in the rest of the series. But the Suns don't have any depth, man. I mean, as far as people that can come in off the bench and score, Cameron Payne's he's back, but he's not 100%. At least it doesn't look like. TJ Warren's not there. He's still out. I don't think he's going to be back. They traded for him a while ago, so they don't really have.
TJ Warren still hurt.
He's not playing. He's done. Yeah.
Damn,
they just don't have any pieces. And
that's
then
unfortunate.
Chris Paul going down in the playoffs is inevitable. You know what's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. If he doesn't go down in the playoffs, then you got yourself then they'll probably win a championship because he goes down every single playoffs. It seems like he's just injury prone. It doesn't even matter about his age. He was going down when he was younger than what he is now. So and then you got DeAndre Ayton. He's not. He just doesn't look like he's aggressive enough out there for me. He's getting obviously Jokic is 2-time back-to-back.
Doesn't look aggressive. It's not looking aggressive.
Jokic is not that athletic to me, and he's not that good on defense. He's just a big body. But I mean, DeAndre Ayton, he just got to want it. He just got to go in there and try to body him. And obviously, Jokic is 2-time MVP for a reason. But you got to want to beat this team. He just doesn't look like he wants to be there. And they didn't hit enough threes in game 2. They hit 6 out of 31 threes. That's not going to cut it. And that was a game that they needed because Murray played like trash compared to the first.
He did. He
I
did.
mean, you don't really see a team, especially nowadays, for the most part, scoring 87 points, especially in the playoff. Well, maybe in the playoff, but like to
I
score
don't know, man. That's
87,
rare.
I'm just saying, like it's more rare probably in the regular season but in the playoffs, defense gets a little tighter and everything like that. But like, to just score 87 points, it's just tough, especially when you got Kevin Durant and Devin Booker out there. But I'm still sticking with the Suns to come back and win this series.
All right, man. So the next team is my favorite team. Got the colors on right now, but it's my favorite colors. Anyway, is the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Golden State. Now, this series is probably gonna not shock you who I'm gonna pick, but I've been rocking with them. I said it maybe a couple weeks ago, 3 4 weeks ago. I was like, we're gonna win a championship. I still believe that. We have one of the best records, actually the best record in NBA after the trade deadline, and we're just playing. We're playing good, yeah, after the trade deadline. Um, Philly has the best record since December, so which is good. You know, teams that have really good records and that are in February or March in the NBA, it tends to carry over into the playoffs. Either make a deep run or win the finals. I think the Lakers pull this out, and not. This is the thing. I think Anthony Davis's defense has been crazy this year, and I think Golden State, unfortunately, two things that goes against them. They don't have their defense sucks. And I get it against Sacramento, but you can't do that against the Lakers because you're gonna have Dennis Schroeder and D'Lo and Rui Hachimura. They're gonna be playing really well, and you don't if you don't have anybody to stop AD and AD is gonna have a good game. I think the reason everybody's like, well, AD didn't play well against the Grizzlies. Well, the defensive player of the year, Jaren Jackson, is guarding him. Golden State has Looney, which is good at defense, but I don't know if he's quick enough on AD level. Jaren Jackson's a different level, right? So I think I think that's the Lakers. And then here's another thing that concerns me about Draymond and Looney, that they're not offensive threats. So LeBron's playing off of them. You know what I'm saying? LeBron's playing off of Looney and off of Draymond, which gives LeBron James more rest on the defensive end, and he can pay attention to somewhere else like Steph or Jordan Poole. And the third thing is Golden State's not good on the road. They're not good on the road, and I don't see them stealing one in LA. And I love Jordan Poole, but he hasn't been playing good. So they need him to play good to win this series. I just don't see it. So I have the Lakers winning the series. All right, Craig. Who you got, Lakers or Golden State?
Golden State. Not picking the Lakers over Golden State. Not in the no. Can't do it. So
Watch, Corey, watch.
no, I don't think so.
6 games.
It's not gonna be 6 games. But the Lakers did what they're supposed to do. They got one game. I don't think they're gonna win game 2. Problem is that it was a lot of fouls against the Warriors in game 1 versus the Lakers in game 2, or versus the Lakers in game 1. Foul discrepancy was out of control. It's just something that I don't think the refs are going to allow to happen. The Warriors didn't shoot a free throw until about 30 seconds left or something like that in the second quarter. That's unacceptable in the playoffs, especially at home. Anthony Davis is going to get his, and that's fine. The problem is that the Lakers don't do well against the screen and roll, like especially if somebody like Steph Curry is running around. Nobody's really going to be able to guard Steph Curry, keep up with him. He's going to move back and forth. That's what he does. It's hard to stick with somebody who constantly just never stops moving. The Lakers just don't have anybody that can do that. Anthony Davis cannot sit in the paint while you're coming off of a pick because you're going to just let somebody get a wide open three. And they had 21 threes. Excuse me. I don't. Poole had a really good game. He had 21 points off the bench. They're going to need more out of Steph. Steph might need to average 35 in this series, which is fine. I think he can do that. He just came off a 50-point game. So he might. I mean, they just played a couple of days ago. So maybe he's a little fatigued. They just won 2 games back-to-back on the road, including a Game 7, which is normally the home team wins the Game 7. So I'm still sticking with Golden State. I think they have, as far as shooting goes, it's not even close. As far as in the paint goes, it's not even close. On that other side, it's just going to come down to the threes. It seemed like it was going to come down to the threes versus the free throws. One team's getting all the free throws, one team's getting all the threes. That might kind of balance itself out, and then it comes down to who's going to make enough plays. I do agree that Draymond and Looney are not offensive threats. Wiggins needs to step up. He hit his first 3 and then missed his next 4.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to need more out of him. They need more out of him on the defensive side. The Warriors are not good on defense like they were last year.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, it's bad because it's just 1 year ago. Yeah. And they're not good on the road either, but I think they have, after winning those last 2 games, I think on the road, I think they know that they can, that this is the playoffs and that's the regular season, and they're going to leave that there. Mm-hmm. They're just going to need more out of Wiggins and more out of Steph.
Yeah, and it's crazy because the defense dropped off. But Wiggins, man, he hasn't played in a minute.
He's played.
It might take some time to get his legs under.
Nah, I think he's fine because he had a pretty good game the first game of the series against Sacramento. It's just, I don't know. He's not aggressive enough sometimes. I don't know.
All right, now to the NFL, Corey. We were talking about this, man. Lamar Jackson signs a 5-year, $260 million deal, $185 million guaranteed, average salary of $52 million. I looked at it. The details have not come out yet, guys. You know how I like looking at contracts at sporadic.com. They haven't came out yet, but it's probably similar to Jalen Hurts. That's because it's probably really similar to Jalen Hurts. So what are your thoughts about it?
I think it was a high point to a decent draft weekend for Baltimore. Except for all the, nothing was getting done until Lamar came off the fully guaranteed contract talk. Was never going to happen anywhere, period. He lost some leverage once the draft started and teams addressed the quarterback position. The team's also in a standstill because they couldn't really do anything else financially until that Lamar deal got done, because they needed to know what their salary cap was going to look like. So it seems like it was just a deal that all sides win. Lamar gets his money. He's the highest paid player. And it looks like they largely just took the Jalen Hurts contract and bumped the numbers up a little bit, which, makes sense. If everyone's happy with it, I'm sure Lamar will get that no trade clause as well. And everybody wins. So it's unfortunate it took as long as it did, but happy to see Lamar get his money as he deserves. And I having Lamar as their quarterback is why they're going to be in contention next season.
Yeah. Craig, what are your thoughts on Lamar Jackson, man? We talked a little bit about it on the live. What are your thoughts about that 5-year, $260, highest paid quarterback right now, which bumps down Mahomes to number 7, I think.
I like the signing. I think it's good for both parties involved. Lamar gets his money. The Ravens get their quarterback back, and now they can be in contention for a little bit longer. I like the addition of Odell there. So he's a veteran wide receiver he can lean on. I didn't think he was going to get done. I thought he was going to sit out maybe, or have the possibility to sit out, or at least extend it longer until the season or close to the season. But they were finally able to, fortunately, reach a deal. I think the Jalen Hurts deal possibly helped this move along. And then after Jalen Hurts got his deal, then I guess Lamar was like, okay, this is what I want to get now, and then whatever the case may be. And they actually made it happen. So I'm happy for Lamar. I'm happy he got his money. I think it's a good deal. I think it's a fair deal. Now he can get back to playing football, get back to do what he loves to do. And the Ravens went from who knows what's going to happen with the team to like a top 5, maybe top 7 type team in the AFC again. So as long as Lamar can stay healthy, they helped him out with the rookie wide receiver that they got, which was pretty good. Got some other pieces around them. Obviously, they still got Andrews, so they got like 3 running backs that they always have. It's just a matter of staying healthy for this team, especially Lamar, and I think they'll be fine. So I'm happy that he got his money, like I said, and I think it's a good deal. I think it's a win-win.
Yeah. You know, I love the deal, and it's so funny that as soon as Jalen Hurts signed the deal, I was listening to Rich Eisen, and they were like, I think Corey said it as well, where it was like the Ravens need to look at Jalen Hurts' deal and give it to Lamar, because I think he probably gets around 75% of it guaranteed. Once again, somebody said this: the value of quarterbacks are so valuable. It's hard once they sign that deal. It's hard to move off it. I believe Carson Wentz got all of his money. He might have had the last year voided out, but I know the Commanders paid him $28 million last year. So I think he got most of his contract, maybe 80%. It's just hard. What did the Colts pay him? Did the Colts pay him like 20
something? Yeah.
20 something. And that's a part of his original contract. So it's like, you know, that's the thing with the guaranteed contract. I think the Deshaun Watson was a shout out to Deshaun Watson's agent because he played it perfectly. Cleveland was desperate. I want fully guaranteed. They said yes. Now, I understand why Lamar wanted guaranteed because he's like, look at this. And then now Russ signs it, and then Kyler, he's like, I don't care about them. Now, when Jalen Hurts signs a deal, he's like, okay, wait a minute. But nobody really knew because Lamar's mom was their agent. So they were keeping a lot of things close to breast, right? No pun intended, right? They were keeping it close to the chest. So the thing is, it's a win-win for the Baltimore because they get him on a quarterback deal. We don't know if it's team friendly. If it's the Jalen Hurts, it's team friendly. And Lamar wins because he got $50 more million guaranteed. Because they offered him 33. Oh, they got 20 more. No, 50 more million. They offered 133. He's getting 185. It's a win-win. And I think he's ready. This is a great news for Baltimore fans. If Lamar's getting paid this money, he might have played a playoff game and they beat Cincinnati. I'm just, maybe. Can't say it, but now that his money is guaranteed, it's a difference.
Yeah, I do think that there's another element of it that it was arguably equally as important for Baltimore to get this deal done. You see Jalen Hurts get his money. Fairly reasonable contract for a quarterback these days. I think everyone kind of agreed when the Hurts deal came out. Yes. But if you're the Ravens, you really don't want Lamar to be waiting until Hurts and Burrow get their deals. You wanted to jump on this now so that when those next 2 contracts get done or even higher, Lamar starts dropping down the highest paid list.
Yeah.
Just like what happened with Mahomes in Kansas City.
Yeah. Because let's be honest here. Let's be honest. We don't know what Joe Burrow's going to ask for. We don't know what he's going to ask for, but I put my dollar on it. It might be $300 million contract. He might ask for that. And then Herbert's going to be like, well, now let's say the Chargers go deep in the playoffs this year. They're going to have to pay Herbert a lot of money.
I mean, I think
That's
they
paying
do
a
no
lot
matter
of money.
what.
No matter what, yeah. But I think the price goes up. You start with the playoff games. I think the price goes up tremendously. Like I've won a playoff game or I've won 2 playoff games. I need because I was listening to Speak, right? And Shady McCoy, he did make this point, and I didn't realize this as a fan. But he was like, you know how hard it is to win a Super Bowl? He's like, you know how hard it is? Like everybody wants to knock Allen, Josh Allen, and Lamar. He was like, it's super hard to win a Super Bowl. He's like, not a lot of quarterbacks have done it. It's really difficult. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, all right, I got that. He was like, Aaron Rodgers won 1 Super Bowl. How great he is, right? It's hard. It's hard to even get to a Super Bowl and then win it. And then to go to multiple Super Bowls like Peyton Manning or Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes or John Elway, you're just considered great. Joe Montana, you're just considered great because it's so difficult to do. And I was like, okay, I get it now. So Justin Herbert might never go to a Super Bowl, but he might win like 4 or 5 playoff games. And, that's a good quarterback, because you got teams like mine who are mediocre.
When you've got a guy like Justin Herbert under center, you at least have hope for that.
You have hope. If he was in the NFC, I'd be cheering, but then we're in a division with Hurts and Dak. So it's just very interesting, man. Because I said this to Mo in the chat, and we're gonna move on and talk about the draft. But I said we should have drafted Herbert versus Chase Young. We're not even picking up Chase Young 5th-year deal. We're not picking it up.
Surprising. I don't get that. I know he's been a disappointment, but the number 1 overall pick, it's take the option.
Yeah. So it's like could have got Herbert. Now, if we got Herbert with those weapons in the NFC, I would be pretty happy. I would be content. I would have a Herbert jersey on right now. I'm not gonna lie to you. And then if we had Herbert, I don't even know if Daniel Snyder sells the team at that point. Might have to try to force him out because we will be winning games. Oh man, that'll be interesting. All right. Anyway, let's talk about this NFL draft now. Corey, I know you were down in Joe's. That's awesome. I know you probably had an awesome time in Atlanta. Did you watch the game at his house, or did you go out?
First round, watch at his place. Second, third, we grabbed dinner, came back.
Yeah.
And day 3, we were kind of out and doing stuff, so I was tracking it on my phone.
Oh, that's nice, man. Did you go to any nice places?
Yeah, hit up the aquarium, which was really cool.
Yeah.
And did the Coke facility tour, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. I'm just saying that because I got family now in Atlanta, and it's got some nice places to eat. It's I like Atlanta. It's nice. It's got a nice vibe, nice places to eat.
Trip.
Nice fun trip, man. So, but me and Craig, we did watch it. It was very interesting. Corey, we're gonna break down which teams surprised you in a good way. Which teams had a great draft, and then we're gonna talk about which teams did not have a great draft or a very surprising draft, or picks that you want to go like why. So we're gonna go through which teams you think had a phenomenal draft that surprised you.
I'll say Philly. I think they had a really good draft. It's surprising that they were able to get the guys they were. Mostly Nolan Smith at the back end of round 1.
Crazy.
And then to cap all of it off and trading for DeAndre Swift for nothing. It was a really good deal for them. Pittsburgh, I thought, had a really good draft. They got the last starting caliber tackle in the first round.
Traded up.
Yeah. Porter is probably going to be able to start for them at corner day one. And then Darnell Washington in the third, I thought was a really good pickup. I guess he had medicals that caused him to fall, but getting a guy with that kind of talent in the third round, like it sucks for fantasy because Freiermuth was just a plug and play, didn't have to worry about the position.
Yeah.
But for a team with Najee Harris and that likes to run the football, being able to get a second tight end on the field could be really interesting for that offense. I did think Tennessee had a decent draft. They desperately needed a tackle, so Skoronski is going to immediately start for them. Tajay Spears is probably the best running back that has been in Tennessee to pair with Derrick Henry in his career. It's unfortunate they've waited till the end of his career or close to the end to finally get him a quality number 2 guy. But and then the gamble on Will Levis in the second. I know I talked about it going into the draft, and it's sure enough, Houston got their quarterback, Indianapolis got their quarterback, Jacksonville has theirs. The Titans couldn't be left with Ryan Tannehill. So they were in a position where you have to roll the dice and hope that Will Levis can become a starting quarterback, because Tennessee would have been, without taking a quarterback, Tennessee would be by far in 4th place in that division, I think. And I think Houston had themselves a pretty good draft. It was a really bold move getting Stroud and Anderson 2 and 3.
Bold.
I'm a little torn on that because on one hand, them trading up for Will Anderson ensured Anthony Richardson fell to 4. But on the other hand, the Colts get to see Will Anderson twice a year for 10 years.
Yeah.
I do think Tank Dell, the receiver, was a bit of a reach in round 3. But the franchise and that GM needed a splash on draft day. I think they got it. And they added some interior offensive line help that was desperately needed for that roster.
Yeah. All right, Craig, which teams surprised you in a great way during the draft?
The Eagles, definitely. We talked about that during the show, how Jalen Carter fell to them. They did have to trade up one spot, but they were able to get one of the best players in the draft. Nolan Smith falling to them also late in the first round. Another great pick. Them, like Corey said, them getting DeAndre Swift. They didn't have a running back. I kind of was thinking they might take Robinson, the running back.
Yeah.
He went a little higher than I thought, but after he was gone, I was still trying to figure out what they were going to do at running back. They were going to take somebody, but they ended up getting Swift. I thought that was a great move. To me, this solidifies them as the best team in the NFC. If they weren't already, I mean, I think Vegas still has the 49ers for some reason, but I like what they did during their draft. The Steelers getting what's his kid's name? Broderick Jones. The Patriots kind of fleeced.
We would talk about that on draft night. Go ahead, mention it.
They kind of finessed the Jets by trading with the Steelers, who took the last best offensive tackle that was at least first round talent wise.
Yeah,
that was left. And unfortunately for the Jets, the Patriots are picking them before them, like one spot, and they ended up trading with the Steelers. So Steelers got a great pick there, and then they got Joey Porter. I might as well keep it there. Joey Porter played with them, so why not get his son, right? So I thought that was a good pick as well. They had some. I like Benton from Wisconsin, the DT, also in the second round. So they had obviously they went. They had some issues on defense a little bit. I kind of was hoping that they would get somebody else to help out with Kenny Pickett a little bit, but over the tackle, that's a big plus right there anyway. So I like that pick. I like what the Bills did a little bit, especially with the tight end. I know they already have a tight end, but this is Kincaid is probably the best tight end in the draft. can't never have too many weapons, I guess. So that's another weapon for forgot his name.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen to have. So I kind of wish they got a better running back. They still had that's been an issue for them for what seems like forever. Now haven't really addressed it. I guess kind of sort of, but as long as it's a passing league, so why not just keep passing the ball? And you still have other great wide receivers out there as well. Excuse me. I like what the Giants did. The Giants got the cornerback that they needed. To me, they got another person on the offensive line. I was really mad that they got Hyatt because I really wanted him for the Panthers because he had such a great season last year, 15 touchdowns, I believe. So I thought he had a great season, and I think he's gonna fit well with his team. The Giants never have any good wide receivers anyway, or if they do, they just come there and they just not good anymore. So I think that's gonna help him. They got a late running back that can maybe help out Saquon a little bit. I'm not sure how much of a role he's going to play, but Saquon usually gets hurt every now and then. But the kid out of Oklahoma, so I think he could be a solid late pick that could help the team out. Tennessee, I like the offensive tackle that they got early. Might have reached for him because I think he could play tackle or guard. I think they said his hands are short or something like that. So. But I thought it was a solid pick.
Yeah, he got short arms.
Yeah, I thought they were going to go Levis there, but either way, it still worked out because they got Levis in the second round.
They got him where they were supposed to, Craig.
Okay, all right. Anyway, I think Levis is going to be a really solid piece for this team. I wish they got a wide receiver earlier.
Okay.
Because I mean that's the only part that I'm kind of like about because they just don't have any wide receivers on the team. So
yeah.
If you're going to throw, whether you have Will Levis out there or you have Ryan Tannehill out there, you don't have anybody to throw the ball to. It's not going to be very productive on the field. The running back that they got from out of Tulane, what's his name, Spears or something like that. I think he could be.
Yeah, it's Spears.
Yeah, I think he could be a solid spell back for Derrick Henry. You can't run Derrick Henry 300 times anymore. So I think
seen him doing hills today. I was like, yeah, I like that. He was running hills today. He posted.
Oh, I thought you said you seen him in hills.
No, man. He was running hills outside. He was training for the off season.
I didn't hear what you said, man. But yeah, I like what Tennessee did. They didn't have to reach for Will Levis. They didn't have to trade up for Will Levis. They just let him fall to him, and they got a good pick there. So, that's what I saw, and that's what I like so far.
All right, so. Okay, guys. So mine are probably going to surprise you a bit, but I do agree with Philly, right? Philly did awesome. I agree with Pittsburgh. I agree with Tennessee. Getting Levis, where, listen, I like Todd McShay. I just don't look at him in his mock draft. He put Will Levis at number 2. Everybody else. I know Will Levis, hopefully he carries that as a chip and he might be a good quarterback. My thing is, I just don't think that he was going to go that high. Tennessee's a perfect situation because he can learn from Tannehill. Tannehill's a professional. Tennessee is perfect. I don't see him I don't see him as an immediate starter. We'll get to Anthony Richardson later, but I just don't see Will Levis. The reason I would pick Anthony Richardson over Will Levis is because of the potential. You know what I'm saying? It's like the NBA. Like he's not. Steph isn't going to be good now, but 3 years, bam, 2 years, we got a game-changing quarterback. Whereas Will Levis, you don't know. I think he fell in a perfect situation, the perfect coach. Vrabel is the perfect coach for him. I heard he already talked to him. He was like, nobody cares what you were picked at. You know what I'm saying? Can you help us win? They don't, NFL, they don't care, man. They're like, what can you help me do? But let's get to mine. I know Craig might disagree with this. I think Seattle had a good draft. I think they had a really good draft. I think they got the best corner, and that's who the Lions wanted. They traded down. Once they got Devin Witherspoon, he's considered the best corner in the draft. A lot of teams were really high on Witherspoon. They got Witherspoon, and they got Smith and Jigba at the 20th pick, the best receiver in the draft. Hey, they can put him right in the slot. Listen, and they got a running back. This is why it's a good draft, because it takes pressure off Geno. You got to surround Geno with weapons, man. He can't do it by himself. You got to load up around him, and I like that. Seattle, they had a good draft last year. I think they had a good draft this year, and I don't know if they're going to be good or not, but I like the Raiders. I think they did decent. This is what they did to me. Usually they pick crazy picks. The last couple years, the Raiders have been like, what are they doing? But this year they got Tyree Wilson at the 7th pick, which they say he could have gone to the Texans. They say his ceiling is very high. Then they got Michael Mayer, who's considered one of the best tight ends in the 2nd round. I kind of like that. I just like the reason they surprised me is because I thought they were going to Raider it. You know what I'm saying? But I thought they were going to pick picks that were 2nd or 3rd round picks in the 1st round, like they did the past couple years, where it was Gruden making these picks. This year, I kind of like it. I like it. You know, it's good because you got to think, if they wanted a cornerback, if they wanted a corner and the best corner was off the board, let's at least get the best defensive lineman off the edge. You might as well, you know. So those are the two. Those are kind of two that stood out, that were surprising. And of course, the Texans stood out. Craig, I'm going to ask you this. I got a feeling you're going to say one, but what teams were head scratching picks, do you think?
The Lions, to me, especially early on, I like the Hendon Hooker pick. Yeah. They got a good value for him. But the first 2 picks were weird because I thought they were reaches. Yeah. I think the Lions should have went corner. Gonzalez was still there. And I thought he was going to get taken because he was, to me, after Witherspoon went, I thought he was the 2nd best corner, or at least 2nd or 3rd. And he didn't go, and it confused me. And I mean,
we weren't talking about that. That
kind of made sense after the Swift trade. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I think they could have got Gibbs in the 2nd round, possibly, or they could have traded up late in the 1st. And
you think they could have got Gibbs at the 34th pick?
I mean,
because that's what they traded for.
He might have went to the Chargers, possibly, if he was still there, maybe, because I know they had their situation going on.
You think he should have got him with the 18th pick?
I don't think he could have been. I think they could have waited. Honestly, I think they could have waited on Gibbs. I think they could have definitely waited on Campbell. I think he was a 2nd rounder, maybe late 1st rounder. I just think those 2 picks were understand it. They needed them. I think they needed cornerback. They just let their cornerback go. They traded their cornerback, and now their defense was one of the worst in terms of passing defense. And they still didn't address the cornerback situation. Kind of strange. I didn't understand it. I didn't get it, and I still don't get it. The Broncos, I don't know what the Broncos did. The Broncos did not upgrade the offensive line. I don't know why that wasn't a need for them, or didn't seem like a need for them, but they didn't address the offensive line at all. I mean, you got Russell Wilson back there, but I mean, he was playing like trash last year. The offensive line wasn't that good last year, and
they did upgrade some in the free agency.
I understand that, but I mean, like, I think they need some younger talent throughout. I'm just talking about the
I got you. Yeah, you think they should have just added depth? I got you.
Yeah, right.
I got you.
So, and they didn't do that.
I understand that.
The Jets had a great draft last year. Breece Hall and Sauce Gardner and Wilson. This year, I mean, I know they got finessed a little bit in the 1st round, but the biggest issue for that team last year was the offensive line. I mean, besides quarterback, was the offensive line.
Yeah.
And it took them, I mean, to the second round, obviously, they didn't have a choice really because, I mean, there were no other first round tackles or any guards or centers worth taking in the first round. But that's what happens when you traded Aaron Rodgers or traded for Aaron Rodgers, and then you got back 2 spots, you flip spots Packers and ended up losing out on a potential game-changing tackle. So, you know, it is what it is. It comes with the territory, but granted, they got Aaron Rodgers, but I don't know, man. Aaron Rodgers was having a tough time last year behind that line and getting pressured, and he's going to have the same type of issues, I think, this year because unless they go out and they do something, who's ever out there, but it's going to be tough. And I think the Cowboys. I don't know what the Cowboys be doing sometimes, but I did not like the draft. I know the defense has been horrible sometimes, especially trying to in terms of the pass defense. But I just didn't understand. I mean, some of the picks, I think they needed to do something with the offensive line. I also thought they needed to get another running back in there just because Zeke's not there. I don't know if Tony Pollard is every down back. They got a running back, I think, in the 6th round.
Which is a good story, by the way. It's nice. It's one of the coach's son. That's nice for him to do that.
Video. I'm not for it. Like, it's just more. There's more stuff to talk about with the Cowboys. Like, the Cowboys on TV. Why not? Because it sells. It's what sells out there. And I'm not for the Cowboys being on TV. They're on TV enough. Like, I didn't like the story. I didn't care for it. I didn't. So I just didn't think they had a phenomenal draft like they've had in years past.
Yeah.
But you know, when you're picking that far down, you can only do so much. But I mean, it's the Cowboys. The Cowboys expect to make a splash every year or whatever. You want to come play for the Star, and I guess the biggest move for them was the Deuce Vaughn pick. So
yeah, I get it. Now I'm gonna let Corey go, but I do gotta mention this, Craig. They did say it was only like 15 blue chip prospects, and then they said after that it was like a crapshoot. So
the Chargers too. I forgot to say the Chargers didn't address the running back situation. I don't know what they're doing. If they're not gonna, what are they doing with Eckler? And they didn't get a backup running back.
Not gonna pay him.
Or they didn't get a backup running back. Instead, they got 2 more wide receivers, especially the first round. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I think they're not gonna pay. Damn, they didn't get no running backs at all.
And they didn't get an offensive lineman.
Damn. Yeah, that's a little weird. That's a little weird. Corey, what team surprised you? Head scratching like what?
Yeah, I think Detroit's the easy one. It feels like they're getting crushed by everybody for the first round selections. I agree with
drafts though.
I mean,
Brian
I
Branch
do think
in the 4th.
3 and on, they had a solid draft, but the front end of this draft, look, the NFL is evolving where you need talent at the premium positions.
Yeah,
rushing the passer, protecting the edge, quarterback, and arguably receiver now in today's NFL.
Yeah,
running back is not a premium position.
No.
Taking the second running back off the board at 12 is crazy. Look, I do think Gibbs goes in round 1. There's talk that the Bucs were really high on him. I could see the Chargers have taken him. If he is there in the 20s, I think he goes there. 12 is too early. Inside linebacker, I would contend that in today's NFL, you do need a good inside linebacker. You got to have a guy that can cover some because there's so much passing.
Tight ends,
running backs. But if you're going to take a running back, why not stay at 6 and take the best running back in the class instead of trading down to get the second best?
That is a very good point. They could have had Bijan Robinson.
Yep, because he went 9. So
that's interesting.
I saw their GM talking, and he did have a good point in that fans' expectations for this draft are warped because of mock drafts.
That is true.
The mock people creating these mock drafts don't think the same as the NFL evaluators.
No, it's for entertainment.
But on the other hand, he it felt like he was like, fans have a distorted perception because of mock drafts, but we know better. I know better. And it's like, well, that's the kind of arrogance that gets people fired.
Yeah.
So
if it doesn't pan out.
Yeah. So hey, if they're right, a couple years ago, I crushed Cincinnati for not taking a lineman and taking Jamar Chase.
I think we all did.
They were right as hell about that. So, who knows? But they better be right because this is a team that's ascending. They had a really good draft last year. They're in a position to be able to make a run in the NFC next year for a playoff spot.
Yep.
And this draft felt kind of flat. So, especially early on. So it felt like they just didn't take advantage of the opportunities they had. San Francisco jumped out to me. You had no first and second round pick, and then you take a kicker in the third. You can find kickers everywhere. Most teams kickers are undrafted. So taking a kicker with one of your first picks of the draft felt odd. James, for me, the Charbonnet pick by Seattle stood out as a bit of a head scratcher. Taking a running back in the second round when you have Kenneth Walker as your starter, who proved himself to be a very good starting running back.
Mm-hmm.
Like that defense has holes. They needed all the help. That defense needs all the help it can get, and you draft a backup running back with a second round pick.
Yeah,
that
felt
like a luxury pick.
They probably got him. They could have got him in the fourth, probably.
I don't know if he would have fallen that far, but just taking a running back in the second round is a luxury pick and a luxury that I don't think Seattle could afford with the holes they have on defense. And then I think Baltimore could have potentially used trading back some to add some more talent. Now with the Lamar deal, they only had 5 picks. I thought they had a couple of good ones. Getting Voorhees as to be able to redshirt, and you could potentially have your starting guard next year. But I think the Ravens should have tried to maneuver the board a bit better and add some more depth to that roster.
Yeah. All right. Some of my head scratchers. Tampa Bay. I guess they're going with the starters of Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask. Who, if they would have gotten Will Levis, I would not have been mad because I think he's a better quarterback than both of them. Let's just say that right now. That's me. I just think he is. And then they got they did get a left tackle. They got a defensive lineman, but it's like Corey just said it. There's no premier positions, right? Your running backs, you need. I guess you could go with Pascal, but I don't know. The offensive line was terrible. You got one offensive line pick in the first 3 picks. That's it. When you draft one offensive lineman, your offensive line was not good last year. There's no running back position. You draft a receiver in the 6th round. It just seems like, you know what? It seems a little tankish to me. Okay, just seems a little bit tankish. Like you're going into the season with Baker Mayfield. You got 2 good receivers, but the offensive line sucks. It just doesn't. It's not a good look for me. And I get the Detroit. I get the Jets. The Patriots screwed the Jets again because the pick that they traded in Pittsburgh with, they got a tackle. Now Patriots head scratchers. They had a great first round pick, but they drafted a kicker in the 4th round and a punter in the 6th. What are we doing here? Do you know who you're in the division with? We're going to get to that later, but you got Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, and Tua. I get the corner, but I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see why you get the guy a kicker in the fourth. You probably could have signed him as an undrafted free agent. Same with the punter. But once again, it just looks like the Patriots are going to be an average 8-win team, and I think that's where Belichick's going to retire. But I think that was pretty much it. The Chargers were definitely interesting to me. Not getting a receiver, I guess
I get that.
I get that because you got to help.
Both of their
Herbert.
receivers have had struggle staying on the field.
Injuries.
Keenan Allen's not young.
Yeah,
I can see wanting to support your young quarterback.
Yeah, I can see that, but not getting a running back,
Got
no line help. I get that. But yeah, I mean all the other ones pretty good, but that New England is just that's just so crazy to me. It's like they're stuck in the '80s, and um, they're not. He's not adapting to how the NFL is right now. You know, he's not. And yeah, Dallas had a weird one as well. Um, and yeah, I think that's it. A lot of like Broncos had no picks. And then I'm not surprised about Green Bay. They did Green Bay things. That's what Green Bay does. I'm not surprised. I'm not even surprised anymore. I'm not surprised anymore.
Take a wide receiver again. It's weird, man. I don't get it. Like it's like whoever the GM is, I don't know his name. It's like he was beat up or he was a cornerback and just got destroyed by wide receivers or something.
He's not picking them.
He's not picking them.
I was shocked.
It would have been
hilarious.
I thought it would have been hilarious if Green Bay finally takes a first-round wide receiver right when they get rid of Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, because if they, but me and Craig were talking about it. I was like, I get it. I'm not surprised. It didn't surprise me.
And then the Jets make Aaron Rodgers feel right at home by not taking a wide receiver in the first round either. So,
yep.
It makes sense. What's going on?
We're gonna, I'm gonna get to Aaron Rodgers later. But Craig, I'm gonna start out with you. How did you like the How did you like the Panthers draft? You know, because I know it's your team. You want to go a little bit.
I mean, there's not really much to say because they only have 5 picks, so it's going to be really quick. Especially the first pick, Bryce Young. I thought moving up to number 1. Excuse me, that I wanted him to take Bryce Young. And then beginning with CJ Stroud, and then for some reason the Will Levis talk, I never bought into that, but I'm glad to see Bryce Young being selected first. Obviously, the biggest question marks are his size and his size, basically weight and height wise. So he's a great decision maker, great leader, has all the intangibles. So I'm just waiting to see what he does when he gets on the field. So that goes without saying. The second pick, I thought they needed a wide receiver because obviously they got rid of DJ Moore, so they needed to replace him. Even though they went out and they got DJ Chark. And they got Adam Thielen. He's getting up there in age.
Yeah.
They still have Marshall. They have Smith. But they need another young wide receiver. So I like Mingo, second-round pick. I think he's a kind of a bigger wide receiver, 6'2", 220, sort of kind of bigger wide receiver. But he can catch. He can run after the catch. He's a great pass blocker, or excuse me, a great run blocker. So he definitely has that going for him. His stock was moving up from what I've been hearing. And a lot of people have been high on the pick, higher than they were, I guess, initially. I'm getting more higher on the pick just because I wanted them to take Hyatt. But I'm not really mad at the pick. I think Mingo is going to be a really good wide receiver from what I've been seeing. I just started to watch a little bit more tape on him after the fact. So I think he's going to be a solid receiver. Hopefully he can be, if not a starter right away, hopefully he can contribute when he comes in because he's going to need Bryce Young's gonna need all the help he can get with this group of talent, I guess you want to call it. Oh my God, the third round pick. I don't know what's going on here. This is a horrible pick. The kid from Oregon, Edge. I don't know what they were thinking. They moved up. They traded up and they also traded the 4th round pick to get this guy. This guy is a project. He's a developmental player. Sometimes usually in the 3rd round, unless you're maybe like a quarterback or like a different position, possibly some positions you draft for in the 3rd round to be a starter. I don't see this guy being a starter.
Yeah,
I don't even know if he's going to be any type of help right away. He has explosiveness. He's very versatile. He can play different positions, I guess. He's very athletic, but man, he's just a developmental project. He's raw. So trading up to, and a lot of people are killing the Panthers for this pick. I think they would have had a higher draft rate on most people's boards if they didn't get this pick. Is it probably like a D- or maybe a D+ pick for me, just because it was just a horrible reach. I think he would have been there around 4th if they really wanted him. I thought they could have made something else with this pick. I thought they could have stayed at 93 in the 3rd round and taken another edge rusher or taken somebody else. I think they needed an edge, but I don't think this was the guy.
Yeah.
I'm just not feeling it. So I thought he also could have took a tight end, possibly. I think he played a little bit of tight end, but that wasn't the right pick. Another 4th. They had a 4th round. They did have another 4th round pick, which was they took the guy out of NC State. Took a guy. They took the kid out of NC State last year. Took another one this year. Guard. I thought this was a really good pick. It was good value to me. He's very athletic. He did good on his. I guess they gave him like an athletic grade or something like that. He did good on the athletic grade or whatever it was.
They say he's a potential starter.
Yeah, I think he could possibly beat out Brady Christensen for the guard spot. I don't think Christensen has done anything spectacular for him to be the starter. I think he can give him some run, even being a 4th round pick. He had some injuries in college. That's kind of like a knock on him, but that could hinder him coming out. But I think he's really good. He's really good at opening up running lanes. So I'm kind of excited about this pick, even though it's offensive lineman. You can only really get too excited about offensive lineman. It's not a great wow pick, but I think the Panthers needed some type of depth on the offensive line. Anytime you can help out with the offensive line to help out your new quarterback is phenomenal. So I'm glad they did that. And 5th round pick, they took a safety out of Florida State. I think he can play corner and safety. So if they need to put him in a nickel, I don't like the fact they took another safety. They already have 4 safeties on the team. I don't know why they needed to do that, but I guess since he can play, he's versatile. He can play safety or corner.
Yeah.
I mean, they have Chin already.
He's probably going to be playing nickel. You know how some teams, my team does this, where they'll have 3 safeties on the field sometimes.
I guess maybe
it's
that's
weird. It's weird, but some
teams signed Bell. They already have Woods. They have Chin. Yeah. They have Eric Rowe. I think Sam Franklin's still there. And then they go out and then they get Robinson. I thought they could have probably used another corner, because what I saw from C.J. Henderson last year was unacceptable, especially how he got burnt 3 times in a row, basically 3 times in a row by Mike Evans.
Just 3 times. Was it the same move twice?
It was embarrassing, basically, for us to get beat that much for 3 touchdowns. So I thought they could have done a better job right there and picking another cornerback. They're going to go that route, or maybe go defensive line. But 5 picks, they only had 6 coming in. Ended up with 5, but I think they had for the picks that they got outside of the DJ Johnson pick, the edge from Oregon, I thought it was a pretty good draft. I'll probably give it a B. Just because of that, I think if they had made a better choice, or even if they had got Johnson in the 4th round, I would have probably given it a B+, maybe an A-. But time will tell what's going to happen with this group, especially if the guys that they just picked. I'm hoping that obviously Bryce Young can come in right away. They already They already come out and they said he's not the day one starter. Come on, man. We're not doing this, are we?
Oh, Bryce Young.
Yeah.
Teams always say that, which I don't get it.
They're gonna make him earn it, I guess, or go through the camp. He's not gonna take first round reps or right away. I guess that's gonna go to Andy Dalton. Like, everybody knows Andy Dalton's not gonna be the starter. You don't draft this guy number one for him not to be the starter or whatever it is. But whatever, you gotta play the stupid mind game thing or whatever they're doing.
He's gonna.
It's not. But I think the Panthers had, for what picks that they had, Frank Reich's first draft with this team, I thought was pretty good. Not going to have a lot of picks next year either because of trading up, but hopefully they can make the most of it next year as well.
I'm probably going to have cap space though.
Possibly, yeah, definitely. But they just signed Derek Brown, so they re-signed him or extended his contract. So I'm fairly happy about it. I'm fairly optimistic about this draft and the upcoming season. I don't think they're going to go to the playoffs, even though the NFC's down. But
I don't know, man.
Nah, I'm not seeing it. But maybe 7, 8. They got 7 wins last year. Maybe 8 wins. Maybe one more
That's
win.
Good.
A little bit of progress.
8 wins in their division. I don't know, man.
I mean, they do play an NFC.
I'm still out on Derek Carr and the Saints.
But they also play the AFC. They also play the AFC South. So Southward.
That's what I'm saying, yo. Don't be surprised. Yo.
2 bad divisions playing each other, but 2 up and coming maybe in the next couple of years, especially the AFC South with all their quarterbacks. But
yeah,
I don't know.
All right, Corey, and let's give an in-depth draft grade with the Indianapolis Colts, who had 1 million picks. I'm looking at them now. Well, of course, Chris Ballard. I'm not mad at that though. You know.
Yeah. No. I think the Colts had a lot of holes they needed to fill coming into this draft. Some misses and like the 2019 draft was a complete wash for the team. None of those guys are on the roster anymore.
For real?
Missed a few others. And Ballard's not active. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 2018, one of the best drafts in franchise history. 2019, they I don't want to say whiffed because they've got a number of guys that are starting around the NFL, just not on their roster. But I didn't say anything about the Colts when we were talking about who had good drafts, just because I knew I was going to be talking about this here. But I thought the Colts had a phenomenal draft.
Damn.
You never want to look to have to fill holes in the draft because you want to take the best guy available on the board. But with the 12 picks, this draft just worked out where the need and the talent just lined up perfectly every round. Starting at the top, Anthony Richardson, as talked about it before the draft.
Anthony Richardson.
That's who I wanted, and they got him. And I will say, after seeing some of the interviews and stuff, it makes sense. Like the tea leaves were there. The Colts kind of made it clear they were going after Richardson.
Irsay loved him. Irsay loved him.
So all of it started last August. Morocco Brown, the number 3 guy in their front office, was at Florida practice watching him before the season. And he was texting Chris Ballard. It's like, hey, this kid's lighting it up.
Interesting.
Chris Ballard is a guy that is all about traits. And there is no quarterback that has ever come into the draft that has better traits than Anthony Richardson.
Nah.
Gardner Minshew was working out with him
and he did good on the S2. And he did good on the S2 test.
He crushed it in interviews. Ballard kind of unprompted came out and pushed back on the Will Levis talk. So it made a ton of sense. I guess Irsay called Richardson the afternoon before the draft and was like, hey, if you're there, you're our guy. I'm happy to see it. I don't know if Richardson starts day one, but he should. And I'm very excited for the team. It's the first time since Luck retired that I genuinely have hope.
He might start.
So then to start out day 2, I said me, Joe, Barbara went out to dinner. Draft was about to start, and they're like, "Oh, do you want to wait until the Colts pick before we go?" I was like, "Nah, they're probably going to trade back." Sure enough, Ballard trades back twice. Still landed Julius Brents. cornerback, Kansas State. The kid's probably going to start for them day one. The Colts had a glaring hole after trading Stephon Gilmore because you only had two corners that have given you significant snaps before in Kenny Moore and Isaiah Rodgers. Both guys are in contract years, and there's basically nothing behind them. So Brents will probably come in and start day one. A 6'3", 200-pound cornerback that can move like him. It's really good value. They probably would have taken him if they hadn't moved back. So being able to get 2 additional picks later in the draft and still get your guy is fantastic. I'm really excited for the Josh Downs pick out of North Carolina in the 3rd.
Yeah.
He gives them an element that they didn't have in that wide receiver room. It's sort of there with Ashton Doolin, but I think Downs is a much more dynamic guy. Reggie Wayne was pounding the table for them to draft Downs, and when you've got a Hall of Fame wide receiver in your corner, I feel like that says something.
Yeah.
Downs was extremely productive at North Carolina, and I think he'll day one be the slot receiver for this team. You start out day 3, 4th round, you get Blake Freeland, tackle out of BYU. That there was some talk he could have gone earlier. He's immediately your swing tackle. He's the number 1 backup at both right and left tackle. And I think he could push Bernard Ryman, even as a rookie, for snaps at left tackle. And so it's both depth and competition that they didn't have on the roster before. Then their next pick, Adetomiwa Adebore, I believe, the lineman out of Northwestern. He fell because a lot of teams feared he didn't have a definite position. But I think he perfectly fits the mold that Chris Ballard wants on the defensive line with the flexibility. He's 280 pounds, so he can be on the edge first and second down. He can kick inside to defensive tackle on pass rush downs. And he wasn't great when it comes to pass rush, but he was phenomenal against the run. And so I think he's going to end up in that rotation early in his career in Indianapolis. Then, because of the trade downs, they ended up with 4 picks in the 5th round. Darius Rush, I think, could have gone 2 rounds earlier, and I would have been happy if they took him in the 3rd round. I think he will compete for snaps immediately at cornerback for them. Apparently, he fell because of concerns over his willingness to tackle.
Wow,
I think that could be coached. And honestly, if the corner, I think it's okay. The Colts safeties will hit. Their linebackers will hit. I think those guys can help cover a cornerback that maybe is a little less willing to stick his nose in there. And that's an issue that Julius Brents does not have. Daniel Scott, I think, will immediately be an impact player on special teams. He played a ton of special teams at Cal. He's extremely athletic. So I think he's a guy that in 2 years could be your special teams captain and a guy that gets some snaps in the secondary. Will Mallory was a really interesting pick. Tight end out of Miami. He was the fastest tight end in this draft, 40 time wise. I think his skill set is very reminiscent of Kylan Granson. And you look at that tight end room that the Colts have now, and they've got 5 guys that could make this roster. So somebody's going to be odd man out. I think it might be Granson. I think Mallory could push him out.
Oh, wow.
I do think there's a chance that Granson could end up in Carolina because he's a guy that Frank Reich really champions in that draft 2 years ago.
Okay.
But I think with a guy like Richardson that can throw the deep ball as well as he does, getting a tight end that's a vertical threat like Mallory is a really interesting wrinkle. Evan Hull, the running back out of Northwestern, probably ends up the number 3 running back on this team. I think he replaces Deion Jackson and ends up taking his roster spots. Hull isn't a speed burner, but he can catch the ball really well out of the backfield. And I think that that's something that Taylor and the kid they got from Buffalo last year, Zach Moss.
Zach Moss.
They don't really fit that role. So I think Hull could end up being a third down back for them pretty early in his career. Jaylon Jones falling to the 7th round was kind of crazy to me. He's another guy. I think all 3 of these cornerbacks could end up making the roster and competing for some playing time. He fits the mold of what Gus Bradley likes at corner. 6'2", 200 pounds, long arms, cover corner guy. And I think they got two interesting developmental prospects at the end of this draft in the 7th round. Titus Leo is an edge rusher. He's got speed. He needs to refine his technique bit, but he's a guy that has the measurables. So you sit him on the practice squad for a year, see what happens.
Yeah.
And then Jake Witt, a tackle out of the Upper Peninsula in Michigan, northern Michigan.
Yeah.
After the draft, Chris Ballard said he came in for a workout, and Ballard was ready to draft him on his workout alone.
Wow.
He's a converted basketball player, doesn't have a ton of time on the offensive line, played at a really small school, so he's going to need a redshirt year, essentially, to bulk up, work on technique. But I think he's a guy that it's in the 7th round when you're drafting on projection completely. You're hoping that they can develop. And if he can even develop into a decent backup offensive lineman,
yeah,
you crush it in the 7th round.
Yep.
So I look at this draft class, 12 deep. I think there's a decent chance that 10 of them could end up making the 53-man roster. And I think Ballard did an all-around good job. And it said for me, I don't know how good this team's going to be. I think you start Richardson day one. You let him take his lumps. You let him learn on the fly.
Yep.
I trust Steichen to devise a game plan to give him the best chance to succeed early on. But I think the only thing that's going to help him is reps.
Yep.
And then I think these 3 young corners, you just throw them out there. Don't sign a veteran. Let these guys play. Use this upcoming season as a year to get experience.
Yeah.
And then next year, once all of these guys are going into their sophomore season, I think that's when you can try to make a run in the AFC South and try to make some noise.
Yeah.
When Richardson has a year under his belt, you'll have a lot of defensive players that have some experience then, because they still have a pretty young secondary too.
Yeah.
So I don't know how good the Colts will be, but they are going to be infinitely more fun to watch than they have been the last 2 years.
Man, I can't wait.
Because the Jeff Saturday Colts were not fun to watch.
No. What was that Thursday night game? Was it the Colts and the Broncos? That won't happen. That will not happen.
That was still under Frank Reich, but that was one of the most just disgusting offensive efforts I've ever seen in my life. And the Carson Wentz season was not fun. That was the most stressful watching a football I've ever had in my life.
And it was on Hard Knocks mid-season. That didn't help.
We got a front row seat to the freaking implosion. So there's a lot of picks there. I think the Ballard took advantage of guys falling at positions of need consistently throughout the draft. And I think that, the Colts are going to be a much better team after the draft, and they're going to be a much more fun team. And I can't wait to see what Anthony Richardson does.
Yeah.
The more I hear the kid talk,
he's a beast.
They said after he was drafted, he reached out to the team and was like, "Hey, send me a playbook. I want to start working on it tonight."
Yeah. I like him.
He's a really easy guy to root for.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting. It sounds like Seattle was all in.
They were going to draft him. If the Colts
past Indianapolis,
they're drafting him. Pete Carroll came out. He came out early and was like, "Hey, we were looking at Richardson," which would have been perfect because he sits behind Geno, and then the draft changes because then the Lions probably draft a corner. Because he was real high on the board. That's why he traded out. It's been an interesting draft. I like Anthony Richardson.
I am really excited to watch him play football.
Yeah. All right, the Commanders. So I didn't like their draft. I didn't like their draft at all. It was horrible. It wasn't on my surprise list because I was going to come on here and break it down earlier. Break it down later. First of all, I get why they picked Emmanuel Forbes, but I don't. I really don't. Look. First of all, the pick was a reach because Gonzalez was still on the board, who I think is a better prospect than him, and Joey Porter, who I think is a better prospect. Even if Joey Porter right here is a reach, I think I like guys that dads played in the league. They just know how to be Some of them want to be a professional. Shout out to Jamar, my friend. He was high on this guy. I was not so high on him. He was a first round pick. He's real lengthy. He is a ball hawk, but I he was he was graded as third round pick, and we did this with Jamin Davis. Like we didn't learn our lesson. Like Jamin, we reached for Jamin Davis, reach for, and then it shows. Sometimes when you reach for players, it shows, and I think it's going to show with Emmanuel Forbes because if Gonzalez or Joey Porter balls out, I'm going to be irritated. I'm going to be highly irritated because I was like, all right, we get Gonzalez. And then, so I just don't like the pick. I think Gonzalez in our system with Joey Porter fits perfectly. So, no, they didn't do good. The second round pick is a safety. We have 3 quality safeties already. I don't get it. Maybe he starts off. Maybe he starts off as corner, but he's a versatile defensive back, right? So maybe that's why they got him. But I just don't think they should have got him in the second round. Again, he could be a backup, but like he's a third rounder, not a second rounder. So it's like we keep on like reaching and reaching and reaching and grabbing nothing but air, because that's what we're doing here. This is probably this regime's last year. Just going to be honest with you, this is probably the last year. Then we get to the round 3. Ricky Stromberg. He's an interior O lineman. He's a 7th round projected pick in the 3rd round. He's a potential backup. Same with Brandon Daniels, the other interior offensive lineman. Do you know, guys, we gave up the 7th most sacks in the NFL last season and we didn't improve our O-line in the draft? Howell is going to get killed back there. Then our defense is going to be on the field more than they should be. And once again, people are getting fired. And we're not going to be good enough to have a first round or like a top 5 pick. We're going to be 16th again. We're going to have the 15th pick. We're going to be 8-9 or 7-10. Yay. That's how we are. We're mediocre. And this draft says it. We're a mediocre team that reaches for prospects that don't deserve to get reached for. So I need the new ownership. Please, we got to go into a different direction. Now I get the 5th round pick. He's an edge. KJ Henry from Clemson. I think he'll be able to. When you start drafting 5th, 6th rounds, this is what you want: developmental players that you see potential and growth. So I get taking an edge there. The 3rd and 4th rounders. I wish they definitely would have got offensive help in the 2nd round. Definitely. Because it's kind of like I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what we're doing. It's like we're living in the 80s. It's like, we don't need a quarterback. We're just going to upload on defense. And it's not going to win you anything. You got to have a quarterback. You got to have a dynamic quarterback. Because you're going to see Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow or Jalen Hurts deep in the playoffs or in the Super Bowl. Or Josh Allen, and you're not beating those guys with Sam Howell or Jimmy Garoppolo. It's just not going to happen. You just got to wake up. I don't know what NFL teams are doing. It's not going to happen. You got people like Anthony Richardson and Bryce Young getting drafted. You're not beating those guys. So, anyway, that's my rant. Once again, the 6th round pick, Chris Rodriguez Jr. He's a running back out of Kentucky, kind of a big bruiser. But once again, in the 6th round, I understand it. Listen, we all know this. Running backs sometimes, man. Gibson might miss a game. Brian Robinson might miss a game or two, so it's always good to have depth, and you can get quality depth of a running back in the later rounds, and I like it. And then Andre Jones Jr. Um, uh, I like that too. It's another edge. I would have probably liked a receiver, maybe, or a corner, somebody who could possibly return kicks and punts. We were kind of weird in that area last year, so that's what I don't like. Like I wish that uh we focus more on our offensive line in round 2 and 3 and got different prospects. I feel like people got offensive linemen in the third or fourth rounds that were quality starters, and we got people that aren't. I hope they prove me wrong, but I don't know. You got a second year quarterback. You need to give him as much support as possible, and having a good offensive line that he's not running for his life. Right? No quarterback without a good offensive line could succeed in the NFL. So if you're gonna have a second year quarterback and a rookie, surround him with weapons. Make sure that O line is decent, because we got to see Jalen Carter twice a year. We got to see Michael Parsons twice a year. We got to see Thibodeau twice a year, and you don't improve the offensive line except for Wiley, who's a tackle, and it's just like I just don't know what we're doing. I don't know, and Ron Rivera is going to be surprised once again. We go 7-10, So that's how I feel. It's just bad. That's why I could constantly remind Mo, we're going to the playoffs. No, we're not. We're not. You have to stop this playoff talk. It's not going to happen. And then we're not tanking because we have a good enough team to just win some games, but it's just not enough. We're just mediocre. We're mid. That's what we are. Mid. MID. Damn it. All right. Last thing before we get off. Aaron Rodgers, man. Are you guys surprised that he's attending the off-season workouts? It's surprising to me.
Not really. I think some of his not showing up last year was his discontent with Green Bay.
Got it. Okay.
I don't think he was happy there. I don't think he wanted to be there. Yes, the team would have greatly benefited from him being there because they had a lot of receivers that he didn't have a lot of time with. It would have helped them out early season and everything. But,
yeah,
he's in a new place. He wants to succeed. I mean, I saw some crazy stat that the Jets receivers have more receptions as Packers than the Packers receivers do right now.
Wow.
Because they just signed Cobb as well, on top of having Lazard. But so like with Lazard and Cobb, like Rodgers already has a rapport with those guys. He arguably, doesn't necessarily need all the work, but he's going to show up because, I think he understands how important it is. But I think some of that last year in Green Bay wasn't necessarily as well. I guess was him being a diva in that he had issues with the front office, may not have necessarily wanted to be in Green Bay, and was just kind of flexing some of his power.
Yeah, I get it. Craig, you surprised that he's showing up to the off-season workouts?
No, I'm not. I think he saw what happened last year, how the team just wasn't gelling or anything like that. He had young receivers that he didn't really know. He's coming to this same situation here. Everybody knows Randall Cobb's not going to play that much. He's not even that guy anymore. He has Garrett Wilson, McCall Hartman there, Corey Davis. He knows Lazard. That's about it. So, granted, it's kind of the same offense because Nathaniel Hackett or whatever, but it's just a whole different group of guys. Plus, you're in a whole different situation. It's New York. It's not Green Bay anymore. You're in you're going to be in the limelight now. So you kind of want to make a great impression. It's a tougher division, so you can't just come out here and lollygag, and it's a tougher conference, so you can't just come out here and do maybe what you think is going to work in the NFC, because it's like 3 teams there. That's capable. You're the Packers, so you can just start out a little bit slow possibly, and then you'll catch up like they kind of did. But they can't do that here with this in the AFC. They're not even the best team. You could argue, like, I thought they were still the best team in the division last year. They're not the best team in the division this year coming in. So, and then he has the whole offensive line issues that I think is going to plague the team because they didn't really address it. So I think he needs to I think he's not going to, from what I heard, he's not going to be in camp he's not going to do it the whole time. He's just going to do whatever. But I think he needs to try to make the most of it and try to be there as much as he can to develop some type of camaraderie and some type of rapport with his receiving core. So it's only going to benefit the team if he's there. I mean, I don't see the point. I get it. He's older. He's been in the league. He's MVP, multiple time MVP and Super Bowl champion and all this stuff. But it's a different animal when you go to New York, man. It's just you're in the limelight a lot more than Green Bay. Green Bay is nothing out there. So gotta figure it out, man.
Yeah, I agree with you. I hope he does. I hope he goes to every offseason program as he needs to, because the AFC it's not a game. It's not a game. If Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen are showing up for offseason workouts, you better be there. Because it's not a game. And then Russell Wilson's going to be there. I think they're going to be better with Sean Payton. It's just not a game. This is the AFC. This is the AFC. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's tough. Your own division. Your own division is tough. And they did good last year, so I hope he does. And yeah, New York is a different beast. He already was starstruck. He went to the Knicks game with Sauce Gardner, and he's like, "Oh, dude, it's Jessica Alba right there." Like, you're not seeing Jessica Alba in the Milwaukee Bucks game. You're not seeing Carmelo Anthony, Spike Lee. You're not. The stars come out. The stars are going to come out in LA, and the stars are going to come out in New York. Those are just two different media markets. You know what I'm saying? That's why, shout out to Westbrook. I like him, and he didn't fit in LA, and the LA media is just the LA media is vicious. They're gonna pound you. The New York media is vicious. So I hope he comes out, and I hope he does good. He's making comments like the Lombardi Trophy is lonely. Like, this isn't Green Bay, man. This is they are going to be on top of you, and you're gonna be on the news. You're in New York City. It's huge. They love the Jets. They love the Giants. They love the Knicks. I don't know about the Nets yet. I don't know about Brooklyn Nets. But for those three teams, they love them. They love the Jets. They love the Giants. And they love the Knicks. So
the Yankees, huh?
Oh, the Yankees too, my bad. And the Mets. The Yankees and the Mets. They do. And the Rangers. Yes, New York loves their sports teams. They love them. So I hope so, man. I hope Craig needs to go to every offseason program. If Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, if they're at their offseason program, you need to be there. Because if you're not beating them. You're not. So I hope so, man. But all right, guys, we're gonna see y'all next week. It's gonna be some different. It's gonna be some updated playoffs, because it's gonna be some teams might be on the ropes and some others might be good, and then we'll have some more NFL talk. But once again, man, fourth quarter is out.